Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Armin Rose, and this video on cinematography is a supplemental lesson for media and information literacy and also contemporary arts. What is cinematography? Cinematography is the art of visual storytelling. Taken from the Greek for writing with movement, cinematography is the creation of images you see on screen. Technically, cinematography is the art and the science of recording light either electronically onto an image sensor or chemically onto film. Functionally, cinematography is understood to encapsulate everything having to do with the camera, its movement, the images, the light it receives, and others. The cinematographer, or director of photography, is the crew chief that presides over the camera and light crews in a film or video production. The cinematographer makes decisions about camera movements and film lighting techniques to prompt a specific emotional response from the audience. While the director makes key decisions regarding the images we see on screen, it is the cinematographer who actually makes it happen. This video is divided into 6 parts: type of shots, camera angles, framing of shots, camera movements, lighting, and techniques in cinematography. Let us begin with the types of shots. There are 3 types of shots: the wide shot, the medium shot, and the close-up shot. They are further subdivided into 8 types, depending on the size of the subject or the image in the frame. A long shot shows the entire subject from head to toe and places that subject in relation to their surroundings. The long shot is also called a wide shot. Since long shots incorporate so much background in a scene, they're commonly used to establish setting, mood, and characters' relationship to their physical space. The long shot you're seeing is from David Fincher's The Fight Club. The extreme long shot is a long shot that covers a wider area. It is also known as an extreme wide shot. The shot frames the subject from a distance and focuses on its surroundings. In an extreme long shot, it's not always necessary to see the character. The extreme long shot functions best as an establishing shot, as more of the location is in the frame. If you can see, there is a subject in the middle of the field, but it is so small as compared to the ones in the long shot. This extreme long shot is from Inglourious Basterds by Quentin Tarantino. A full shot shows the character's entire body from head to toe, from the top of the frame to the bottom of the frame. These shots allow the audience to see the emotions on a character's face while simultaneously seeing their physicality, body language, and actions. Full shots also capture the setting and context of a character and can be used with one character or multiple. The difference between a full shot and a long shot is that the height of the character determines what is inside the frame in a full shot. This is from No Country for Old Men by the Coen brothers. When you're doing a full shot with many characters, the tallest one should be the basis for your full shot to ensure that everyone will fit inside the frame. In this case, it is the character on the farthest right side, Groot, which is the basis for your full shot. This is from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 by James Gunn. The medium long shot, also called a medium full shot, is a shot that frames a character around the knees and up. A medium full shot falls between a normal medium shot and a full shot. The medium shot is also referred to as a medium long shot, a 3/4 shot, or a cowboy shot. Back in the era of spaghetti westerns, filmmakers needed to find a way to frame a cowboy to capture the intense facial expressions as well as their gun holster at their waist. So they created the medium long shot or the cowboy shot. This is an example of a medium long shot in contemporary film. This is from Her by Spike Jonze. As you can see, the character is cut from the knees. And this is an original cowboy shot, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Sergio Leone. As you can see, the holster is the bottom of the frame, and the head of the cowboy is at the top of the frame. The medium shot or the waist shot is captured at a medium distance from the subject. It is used for dialogue scenes, but also depict body language and more of the setting. Oftentimes it will frame multiple subjects as well as a portion of the background and space in general. So this is obviously from Titanic by James Cameron. Here's an example of a medium shot with a single character, Princess Diaries by Gary Marshall. A medium close-up shot is a shot that frames the subject from just above their head down to about midway on their torso or their chest. The idea of a medium close-up shot is that you can still easily register the actor's emotions and facial expressions while also retaining some of the background. This is from Forrest Gump by Steven Spielberg. The close-up shot is taken of a subject or object at close range, intended to show greater detail to the viewer. You should also be able to recognize the imagery in the frame, and if the close-up is on an actor, there will be much more significant emotional connection between the viewer and the subject or object featured in the shot. Close-up shots signal to the audience that something is important, and this can be a prop or a reaction, but often it is best when the subject or object has a significant influence on the story and the viewer's understanding of the story. An example of the close-up is The Shining by Stanley Kubrick. So this is a very important expression shot from Jack Nicholson. And also the line delivered was very iconic. The extreme close-up shot frames a subject very closely, often so much that the outer portions of the subject are cut off by the edges of the frame. On an actor, this is commonly used to show specific portions of the body, like the face or a hip, but can go closer to show only an actor's mouth or even a single eye. Inanimate objects can also be framed in an extreme close-up shot, but everything is based on the scale and size of the subject. If you were to frame a steaming teapot in an extreme close-up, you might focus on the spout or the base. The idea is that you cannot see the entire subject, but rather are forced to focus on a particular portion, hopefully for the desired effect. These are two extreme close-ups from the opening and closing scenes of Citizen Kane by Orson Welles, where the main character says Rosebud in the opening scene, and this close-up of the word Rosebud in the sled was featured in the closing scene. Next, we're going to go to camera angles. We're going to start from the top view and end with the bottom view. The first angle is the aerial shot or God's eye view. An aerial shot is a shot that's taken from an elevated vantage point. Aerial shots gives viewers a deeper understanding of what is happening below, both literally and metaphorically. It is meant to convey awe and show the scale of the scene. An overhead shot is when the camera is placed directly above the subject. It is somewhere around a 90-degree angle above the scene taking place. Overhead shots are also called a bird view, bird's eye view, or elevated shot. Overhead shots are used to capture the entire action of the scene for the audience. This is from Avengers. A high-angle shot is a technique where the camera looks down on the character or subject from an elevated perspective. It is used to show the character's vulnerability or to generate the fear of falling from the audience. The high-angle shot should be less than 90 degrees, otherwise it will be an overhead shot. This shot is from The Princess Bride. The eye-level shot refers to when the level of your camera is placed at the same height as the eyes of the characters in your frame. An eye-level camera angle does not require the viewer to see the eyes of the actor, nor does the actor need to look directly into the camera for a shot to be considered eye-level. Eye-level shots simulate standard human vision and thus present visual information through a familiar viewpoint. It is used to give the character and the audience a connection. This shot is from the Game of Thrones. A low-angle shot is a shot from a camera angle positioned anywhere below the eye line, pointing upward. Low-angle shots are often used to convey power, and depending on the subject, the power can be a good thing or a bad thing. This shot from The Matrix of the Wachowski brothers is a low-angle shot showing the agents, and since the agents are the villains, which this means that the power that they have over the audience is a bad thing. A worm's eye view is a type of low-angle shot wherein the camera is positioned by the character's feet. It is also called an extreme low-angle shot. It can be used to look up to something, to make an audience look tall, strong, and mighty, or to make the viewer feel powerless. This shot is from Spider-Man 2 by Sam Raimi, wherein the character Peter Parker is giving up his Spider-Man persona, and the viewers are powerless to stop him. A Dutch angle, known as a Dutch tilt, canted angle, or oblique angle, is a type of camera shot that has a noticeable tilt on the camera's x-axis. It's a camera technique that was used by the German expressionists in the 1920s, so it's not actually Dutch. Directors often use a Dutch angle to signal to the viewer that something is wrong, disorienting, or unsettling. This shot is from Snatch by Guy Ritchie, where all the characters are tilted slightly to the left. Other camera angles include the shoulder level and the hip level, where you see the character's shoulders and hips are the ones that are in the center of the frame. There's also the knee level and the ground level angles, wherein the camera is placed at the level of the knees of a regular person or placed directly on the ground. The type of shots and the angles can be used in order to frame shots, and there are many different ways to frame a shot. An establishing shot sets up the context for the scene ahead. It is designed to inform the audience where the action will be taking place. It shows the relationship between people and objects and showcases the scene's geography. It also establishes the tone or mood of the scene. This shot is from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It is a low-angle, extreme wide shot. When your shot captures one subject, it's known as a single shot. This shot is from X-Men Days of Future Past. It is a low-angle close-up. A two-shot is a camera shot with two characters featured in the frame. This is from The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. It is a high-angle, medium close-up. A group shot features three or more characters in a frame. This is from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and it is eye level medium shot. An over-the-shoulder shot shows your subject from behind the shoulder of another character. Because it emulates perspective, it's common in conversation scenes. The character's shoulder is seen in the blurred part of the foreground of the scene, so this is a medium close-up in eye level. An over-the-hip shot is similar to the over-the-shoulder shot in that the camera is placed behind a character's hip, so the hip is in the foreground. So we use this shot when the conversation is taking place between one character that is sitting and another one that is standing. This is an eye level shot because we keep our focus on the character who is sitting down. A point of view shot is a camera shot that shows the view from a character or an inanimate object. So we see what the character sees. An example of a POV shot with an inanimate object is when you follow an arrow being shot from the bow up to the target, or a bowling ball as it is released, going through the lane and hits the pins. An insert shot is any shot that sole purpose is to focus the viewer's attention to a specific detail within the scene. These shots are often placed from the point of view of a character, suggesting that we see what the character sees during a moment of concentration. They can also be used to show the audience a detail that goes unnoticed by the characters, leading to a dramatic irony. So an insert shot is always an extreme close-up in order to see the details of the item that the character is looking at. Next, we go to camera movement. So this is what happens when camera moves around the scene. When it comes to camera movements, there are two types of shots, the static shot and the dynamic shot. A static shot in film is a shot that is devoid of camera movement. It's also known as a laptop shot or an immobile shot. The frame can be filled with movement of vehicles, characters, props, weather, and others, but the frame itself does not move in a static shot. A shot in which a camera moves is known as a dynamic shot. All shots can be either static or dynamic, and they cannot be both. There is no such thing as a static tracking shot or a static dolly shot. When the camera moves, it is dynamic. If it doesn't move, it is static. The most basic camera movements are the pan and the tilt. A camera pan is a horizontal movement in which the camera moves right to left from a central axis. Taken from the word panorama, the physical position of the camera itself does not move. A whip pan is a fan that is so fast that it creates a disorienting blur effect. A tilt shot is a shot that uses a cinematographic technique called tilting, in which the camera stays fixed but rotates up and down on a vertical plane. When you imagine a pan in a tilt, you move your head without moving your shoulders and your neck. If you move your head from left to right, that is the pan, and when you nod your head up and down, that is the tilt. The first set of intermediate camera movements is the track and the dolly. Previously, camera movement is done only through a dolly track. Tracking was a term used specifically for lateral camera movement, so the camera would track right or track left. Forward movement is referred to as dolly in, and backward movement is dolly out, but it is done using the same dolly track. Now, the dolly shot is simply any shot that takes place on a dolly track, which means a dolly shot can travel in any direction to show off the scene. You can follow a character or go around the room showing what different characters are doing. A tracking shot is any shot that physically moves the camera through the scene for an extended amount of time, using any equipment aside from the dolly. This can be gimbals, vest stabilizers, drones, handheld, or any other tool. Now, tracking shots often follow a traveling subject, though they can also be used to simply show off a scene, like a dolly shot. Another intermediate camera movement is the zoom. A zoom shot is when the focal length of the camera lens is adjusted to give the illusion of moving closer or further away from the subject. Zoom shots are done with a zoom lens, which have variable focal lengths. Zoom types are the zoom in and the zoom out. So when you zoom in, you're going closer, and when you zoom out, you're going further. The zoom movement is the magnification of an image, creating the illusion that the camera is getting closer to the subject. With a dolly shot, the camera is actually moving towards the subject. A zoom shot can be combined with a dolly shot to create a dolly zoom. A dolly zoom is an in-camera effect where you dolly towards or away from a subject while zooming in or out the opposite direction. It's also known as the zolly, and this shot creates a sense of unease in the viewer. It stimulates a spatial warp and can either shrink or extend distances based on the choice of direction. This shot is commonly referred to as a vertigo shot or a vertigo effect, thanks to Alfred Hitchcock's film Vertigo, which used this shot multiple times to great effect. The pedestal shot and the aerial shot are camera movements that go up and down. A boom shot or a pedestal shot is a vertical camera movement achieved through the use of a crane or jib. A boom shot creates smooth vertical camera movement by using a counterweight system. So imagine you're in an elevator and you're going up. That is a pedestal shot. An aerial shot is a shot taken from an elevated vantage point. The equipment used to create the aerial shot has varied throughout the years, from balloons to helicopters to drones. It involves the camera being positioned on an elevated platform, in an aircraft, or a floating object. Aside from camera work, lighting is also an important aspect of cinematography, which we will also discuss. Lighting assists in establishing a background to the visual literacy that the director and the movie crew are creating. Lighting is done in a three-point process. A standard three-point lighting consists of the key light, the fill light, and the backlight. The first point is the key light that provides essential lighting to the object, person, or area that you want to light for a shot. This is the primary and brightest light source in a three-point lighting setup. It gives a scene its overall exposure. This light is usually positioned at the front of the subject on the light stand at a 45-degree angle to the camera. The second point is fill lighting. Mirroring the key light in the opposite side of the camera, the fill light literally fills in the shadows that the key light creates on the subject, bringing out the details. If there is only a little fill lighting, then there are many shadows, and it gives a dark and mysterious appearance. The last point is the backlighting, and it gives a three-dimensional appearance to an object or person. This creates a rim of light or outline around the subject that pushes the subject away from the background and gives a sense of depth. It is placed directly behind the subject, opposite the key light, but high enough to be out of frame. This is the standard three-point lighting setup, where the key light is 45 degrees to the left of the camera, pointing at the object. The fill light is 45 degrees to the right of the camera, pointing at the object. And the backlight is directly in front of the fill light, pointing at the object. A fourth point of lighting is the background lighting. This is used if there is an object with a specific background that needs to be lit for a special reason. Bounce light is the process of redirecting or bouncing a main light source onto a surface to soften the light going to the object being lit. This is done with a whiteboard or wall or any reflective surface. Ambient light is the primary source of light for a certain room. The spotlight and the floodlight are light sources for theater and are not usually used in film unless the scene requires special lighting effects. This is the 4-point lighting structure, wherein the background light is added to the 3-point structure directly in front of the key light, but not pointed at the object, but at its background. These are images of how the different lighting setup affects an object. The image in the upper left uses all the lights in a 3-point lighting system. The one in the middle uses only the key light. The one in the upper right uses only the fill light. The one in the lower left uses only the rim light or the backlight. The one in the middle uses the bounce light. And the one in the lower right uses ambient light. The intensity of light used in the scene is also important. A low key light creates a dim scene, and no fill light leaves shadows. This is a type of mood that would be appropriate for crime, horror, or film noir movies. The high key light and high fill light create brighter scenes and a happier mood for the movie. So essentially, the higher the key and the fill light, the brighter the scene and the happier the mood. This type of lighting is appropriate for comedies and musicals. This is an example of a low-key light versus a high-key light. The one in the left is low-key and also uses no fill light. And the one on the right uses both high-key and high fill light. Lighting with color. A scene's tone and mood can also be achieved through color. Aside from using set, props, and costumes to achieve a color palette, lighting using colored filters can also create the desired effect. Colors can portray emotions and characteristics that are on opposite sides of the spectrum depending on their hue, saturation, and brightness. Red is both anger and love. Pink is innocence, but it is also mischievousness. Orange is both warmth and energy. Yellow is both wisdom and madness. Green is nature and jealousy. Blue is sadness and coolness. And purple is magic and mystery. Some colors convey similar characteristics and emotions. Brown is comfort and stability. Black is elegance and sophistication. White is purity and simplicity. Silver is sleek and high-tech. And gold is wealth and extravagance. This is a compilation of lighting using red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple coming from different movies. Techniques in cinematography. So this is how we will use camera and lighting to create stories. The first technique is the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a technique of dividing the frame up into a 3 by 3 grid, splitting your frame into 9 boxes. Our natural impulse is to put our subject in the center, but the centered subject will look like they're caught in a spotlight, and by dropping them in the center of the frame, it gives them nowhere to go. Instead, by positioning your action in any of the 4 ventricles where those 9 boxes meet, you create a balance in your composition that feels more natural. The headroom and the look room. Just as the rule of thirds splits up your frame to add balance, headroom means to give your subject a little extra room in wherever direction they're facing. Subconsciously, we picture the edge of a frame as a wall, so by giving your subject more look room, there is space for them to speak into. By not giving them enough look room, they look like they're talking to a wall. Another technique in cinematography is to find unique ways to show everyday things. Observing a scene from the height of your camera operator can get dull. So one way to avoid over-reliance on this point of view is to meet your subject on its own terms. Now, the subject of this shot is the dog. So we put him at the foreground and put its owners very far into the background, making it look like the subject or the dog is a lot bigger than he really is. Another technique is to add depth to a composition. So rather than imagining a scene taking place on a single plane, we create a foreground, midground, and background to create depth in a scene. Another technique is to maximize the mise-en-scène. Mise-en-scène means setting the stage, but in film, the term refers to everything in front of the camera, including the set design, the lighting, and the actors. So the cinematographer must work with the director, the actors, and the designers to create beautiful shots that will evoke emotions. So these 2 shots are from Schindler's List and Parasite. They make an effective use of emphasis by putting one color as distinct from everything else in the shot. Even though there are many elements in the shot, you will know where to look because the subject of the shot is in a different color. These 2 shots are from American Beauty and Psycho. They both show you the emotions or the thoughts of the characters. Like the one in the left is tired with his life and the repetitiveness of what he's doing, while the one on the right shows just how deranged his mind has become. These 2 shots are from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and The Tree of Life. They're both towards the end of the movie, so you can see there are not a lot of elements in the shot except for the subjects, and both of them convey hope and also the unsureness of what's going to happen next. Cinematography is difficult to master. It requires both creativity and technical knowledge, but when you get the perfect shots for your film and tell the story the way you want it to be presented visually, it's all worth it. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.